So let's talk about home builder confidence. I think last week you shared some great data points on houses and housing, and this has a little bit different feel. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, because see, that's one of the things that happens with some of these data points is that they really can change from week to week. So the narrative can therefore change as well. And so this week, they do this home builder confidence index, and this index has been what is considered to be a negative place now for quite some time. This time for May, it came out 2 points down from 37 to 35. So that was a downturn. But of course, keep in mind, anything below 50 is negative. So you look at the number and you go, okay, 3.7 was already negative, but now it's gotten worse at 3.5. And so when then you kind of dig into the story and what's the reason for that reduction in their confidence level, it's the same old story. Elevated mortgage rates, affordability, and of course, material costs. Because that's the thing about, I think, a lot of us, are starting to realize, with the Iran war and the big jump in oil prices, even though oil is sort of a kind of, a lot of folks in the country think of oil as an evil, especially those who are more, concerned about the climate and so forth. And yet oil is so integral to the country and to our economy. It is people would be shocked to really pay attention to what extent oil makes up so many things in this country in terms of what we make, we manufacture, our products, and so you got to realize is that that big jump in oil prices has had a negative consequence, both in inflation staying under control and in the cost of certainly goods and services, and in part because oil isn't maybe in some part of the manufacturing process. So, builders are just pointing that out as to reasons why they continue to feel a little bit pessimistic about what's going on. And of course, what the overlying or the underlying issue with all of that in terms of home builder sector is we got a whole long way to go in terms of enough homes being built. As we have in the bullet point there, we're short of 1.2 million in housing units. That is a major, major number. And when you look at most localities, in terms of things like building permits and building starts, we are just kind of nipping away at that shortage, that $1.2 million number. I mean, we are not making great strides in catching up with that shortage. And so as a consequence, that's certainly just kind of making things, not so good. And in fact, you're going to bring up the next couple of bullet points where it kind of illustrates that. And housing starts also came out this week, 1.17 million, 8-month low. It was forecast to be 1.43 million.
That's a lot.
That's a big, drop off from what was expected. So, and who knows, there's probably lots of reasons for that in different localities and in states. Of course, we all talk about how in California, this state is not friendly to home building, and then you even drill down into counties and cities, in some of those areas, in part based on the political environment and who's running those local governments. In some locations, they can be somewhat anti-housing, anti-growth. They're not interested in helping home builders build more homes because they perceive that there's negative consequences to that overcome the benefit of getting more housing. And it's an unfortunate approach, but it's still a factor, particularly here in California.